Welcome to Squirrel, the podcast for distracted writers, hosted by Candace J. Thomas and Jody L. Milner. Hello, Candace. I'm super excited to do this episode today because we're doing our spooky episodes.
Are you
now.
wearing your sweaters already? Are you getting into have you gone seen the leaves or anything changing?
Have I gone full pumpkin spice? I want to because I love getting cozy.
Yeah,
in big fluffy hoodies and like fluffy socks.
I love sweater weather. It's just fall is my favorite season.
I like soup and I like hot drinks, and so it's perfect. And I want it to get a little bit colder outside just so I can really dig into it. Because right now it's still a little warm. I'm thinking when this episode comes out, it'll be a little cooler and I'll be very, very happy. But today we're talking about something that I think is fascinating, is about writer superstitions.
I didn't know this was a thing.
It's a thing.
So.
As we dive into this, let's talk a little bit about superstitions themselves. Like, what are some common ones that everybody knows?
Well, I stole everything that I wrote on the piece of paper from the Stevie Wonder song. So every single one. So we've got the broken mirror. We got the looking glass, the black hats, the ladder going under. I don't know. I wrote a whole bunch of really fun ones.
So what is the back of a necklace one?
Oh, it's just a wish. It's not really a superstition. It's anytime the back of the necklace.
Like the clasp?
Yeah, the clasp comes to the front, you get a wish. Did you not?
I wish I knew that. I've had very naughty necklaces in my life.
Maybe that's why I'm so lucky, because I've made all those wishes all those years.
I know. And there's an eyelash one. I know the eyelash one in wishes. Mm-hmm. I wish I had it for rogue red hairs that I find all over, because I would be the luckiest person on the planet. I
added the eyelash one to one of my books, I think. Yeah, and the blowing of the dandelions. Okay, wishes is not a superstition.
No, but it is. I think they're related. We'll talk about.
Okay,
I don't think we'll talk about them today, but I would love that for a future episode, possibly.
Okay, so nose itching is when somebody is talking about you. Same. I think ears burning also is.
That my ears are burning.
Yeah, I mean that's a thing. I mean, my ears don't burn, but my nose does itch.
And I have a thing called red ear syndrome. Every once in a while, if I bump it weird, my whole ear will go bright red and really hot for no reason at all.
That is really weird.
Yeah, if anyone else has that, we can be friends.
Okay.
All right. So when it comes to occupations, there's actually a trend in occupations that have superstitions versus occupations that don't. And I know that Candy has an occupation that probably has a bucket of superstitions.
The medical field has so many superstitions. We do not say the S word, the 4-letter S word, which rhymes with snow. I don't even want to say it because I feel like
you're going to jinx us.
Or the Q word.
Yeah,
we don't say the Q word.
It rhymes with riot.
Right. Yeah, and there's also there's no OR-13s.
There's probably not a 13th floor either.
Well, I mean, I don't work in a hospital that's that tall. It's possible. But there's, I think hotels don't include that. That was, there was the Tower of Terror ride went to the 13th floor.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, milk it.
Yeah. So I remember going up to that 13th floor that didn't it wasn't there or it wasn't supposed to open.
So are we talking original Tower of Terror or the Guardians of the Galaxy experience?
I am not talking about
they're
Guardians
the same
of the Galaxy.
ride, people.
No, they're not. They might be.
They're the same engineering.
They might be in the same, same
corrected.
area and everything, but they're not the same ride.
Fine.
They're not the same experience.
Guess who's going to Disney next? Eventually, if I can afford it.
I know. We could go on it together. Okay.
Let's do it. Sailing has a ton of really weird superstition. It used to be that you couldn't have a woman on the boat because that was bad luck. Apparently redheads, they had a superstition against because of our association with witches. Huzzah.
What?
Yes.
Well, what about like Eric the Red?
He was not a girl.
He was a Viking? No, I'm talking about, you said him separately. There's a comma there.
Sorry.
You said redheads, but it was women,
Vikings women went on boats, though. They didn't have half the superstitions that like European explorers did. And European explorers were famous for dying a lot when they went sailing because they're like, let's find new places and be unprepared as we do so. Like people who were good at sailing had less superstitions about it. There was a whole story about how having bananas on boats is a superstition.
Why?
Because it used to be the banana boats, they
like
had to be smaller.
Mr. Tallyman.
Yes, we will sing it now. No, we will not. Squirrel. We're coming back. Okay, so this is a brief
bananas.
history.
You're talking about bananas.
Yeah, okay. There used to be banana boats, and bananas were heavy, and so they had to have them in smaller boats, and they were very much prone to sinking, and they attributed it because bananas had some sort of malevolent, I can't say that word, curse on them. And it wasn't because they were overloading the boats with bananas, it was because the bananas were, evil. And so to this day, though, there are captains of boats that if you try to bring a banana on their boat, they will tell you to not bring it. So if you're a tourist going on like a glass bottom boat ride and you're carrying like a banana snack and your captain's like, I'm sorry, no, that's why.
Oh my God.
It's a thing. We're moving on.
That's amazing. I know that because I have a theater background. You can't say the name of the Scottish play, which is actually Macbeth, and I'm totally going to say that because I'm not in the theater right now. But it's funny that my kids, they're in theater, and they have every year they have like some kind of curse because someone said the Scottish play, and it's hilarious because I love what they think that is and how that kind of, evolves. There's lots of, like, I researched Macbeth in the, where that originated from. And there is a lot of really strange things. That's not a joke that a lot of really weird things have happened to Macbeth, like productions. But you could also say that with any kind of production, but you just attribute it to Macbeth, like somebody broke their finger during rehearsal and everyone's like, oh, it's because somebody said this, when honestly anyone could just break their finger during rehearsal.
Do you think it's because actors are famously high strung?
Yes. Did you ever see that Blackadder?
I love Blackadder.
The Blackadder episode in the 3rd season with the actors, and they're like, "Whoa, to be or not to be," and it's just hilarious. That whole, because it goes through the entire curse. If you guys are ever interested in this, you should definitely watch Blackadder, the 3rd season. Well, watch all of the seasons, but
they're fabulous.
You can find that episode in the 3rd season.
All right. So we have a list of superstitions that exist in the writing world, and we're just going to read them off because they're so gosh darn entertaining. So I'll do the first one. Okay. That's avoiding at all costs ending your novel on chapter 13 or even having 13 pages in a chapter. It's the fear of triskaidekaphobia, the number 13.
I've never heard of that. That sounds so weird.
Triskaidekaphobia?
Oh, no, I've heard of that. I just haven't heard of, I ended on a 13. I think that you should end where the chapter ends and where it needs to end and what you've told and said what you to the reader, what the story is. I don't
know what page it's going to be because you don't know where the pages are until you format the thing.
I was born on a 13 and I adore 13s. So that's one of my very favorite numbers. At any time there's a 13, there's a lot of us people that were born on 13s that kind of glue together as we're the 13th club. And everyone knows that. Anyone out there listening who's born on a 13, you know what I mean.
Does that mean you're all a little freaky?
Of course.
Got it.
Good. Totally. No. Didn't even worry about that. Okay. Refusing to title a piece until it is absolutely complete. Do you do this?
It depends on the piece, because sometimes the title will hit me between the eyes. I'm like, that's the title. And then I stick with it. And sometimes I'm like, I have no idea what to call this thing, even when I'm finisthis
Apparently,
and then I ask my kids.
Yeah. Apparently, J.K. Rowling won't, this is the only superstition that she has for writing. Let's see. I should just read this. I only type the title page of a novel once the book's finished. That's from Twitter, everyone. You can probably find it. So that I do not, I don't subscribe to that. I don't even know. If I name it what it needs.
And I don't really create the title page either, because that's what my formatter does. So that's not what I really think about either. But I won't write the words "the end" until I'm actually done.
I don't get a good sense of what the book is until I'm done. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
And then the overarching theme of it usually shouts at me.
So this is one that I can kind of feel where it's coming from. It's writing with a specific pen or writing tool. The words won't come or the thoughts won't come unless the special pen is used.
I should probably subscribe to this because I don't.
Like, I do have a specific pen I really like. I actually have one right here. It is the Jetstream Uniball 1.0. It has a really good flow. It goes forever.
Let me test it. Let me see.
Okay, go test it.
Oh, yes. I could definitely sign books with this. Good job.
Yeah, I'll have these at FanX.
Okay.
Which has already passed if you were listening to this. We are in the future, people.
Yep. Cool. Okay. No, you do that? I don't do that.
I have a pen. I have these specific brand of pens. I don't have a singular pen that I'm like, ooh, I can't do work if I don't have this one actual specific pen.
Interesting. Okay. Needing to wear a certain article of clothing while writing. For example, many authors cannot write unless they are wearing pajamas. Is that true? Do you write with just pajamas?
I do. I can't. Okay, hang on. How do I say this? I do need to change clothes, but since I'm working from home, those clothes don't look a lot different than pajamas. So I will go from actual bed clothes.
You dress up to write?
Well,
like it's a job?
I take off.
Like you put on pants?
I take off the stuff I wore in bed and I put on equally comfortable clothes that I'm not ashamed answering the front door with should a delivery come.
Okay.
There are standards.
Wow.
That's a very low bar because it's usually like my cozy capris and a t-shirt that's probably logoed with something geeky.
This is something not that I get into it all the time, but when I am getting into like fight scenes or some kind of intense moment that I'm writing, I do tend to wear a hoodie. That is true. So that I can kind of, I don't know, pull the strings down and kind of get into my own world and block out everything else. I think that has to do with like just being, maybe that's I don't know. A lot of people.
That's almost a sensory thing.
Yeah, right? Maybe I'm thinking maybe that's true. I'm just trying to hone in some of the outside.
I need a picture of this now for the blog.
Okay. Oh, sure. I'll get into my hoodie and get into my mode for action fight scenes. Okay.
Another one is insisting manuscripts end on an even number page. I know where this comes from.
Okay.
It's when it was harder to end your book on a specific page because the books were made in folios. And there was like 16 pages per folio. And if you weren't getting close on that multiple of 16, you'd have a really weird amount of blank pages at the end of the book. And the publisher would fill those with like ads for other books. Or like a preview, but you had to have a specific number of pages. And the closer you could get to that 16, the less the publisher would dilute your book because each folio cost more. So the more folios, the more expensive the book.
It makes sense. And even when you look at page numbers, you start and you're reading on the right side, and that's the odd number of page. So you're ending a page on the back side, and that's an even page. So then you don't have to add more pages if you end right there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like nowadays with print on demand, and that doesn't really matter because folios only exist if you're using a large printing press. And if you're an indie writer, you're probably going to be using a print on demand. And that means it doesn't matter how many pages there are. There will never be blank pages at the end of your book because they're not using the same system.
Yeah, it's just what you want to cost per book, I guess. Okay. Ensuring characters do not have the same initials as friends of the writer. Otherwise, the person might suddenly have bad luck.
I won't. Initials maybe, but I won't name them the same as anybody I know. Past boyfriends, I can't.
No.
I cannot name characters the name of people that I've had a relationship at any point because that causes problems with the creative process because all of a sudden I start superimposing them on that, and that's a problem. And now, a word from our sponsor.
The award-winning Vivatera series from Candace J. Thomas is now in a collection. The Stones of Everstar explore the story of Naomi and her quest to find the 6 missing stones and the sisters who protect them. You can find this award-winning collection now at your favorite ebook hub or at CandaceJThomas.com.
So we have discussed these common superstitions in the writing world, or not so common as we've now discovered, but we have found specific authors that have some kind of bizarre superstitions that we're just going to list through because I thought these were delightful and kind of weird. So the first one is Dr. Seuss. So Dr. Seuss would wear a hat whenever he experienced writer's block, and he had 300 hats that he would choose from.
Awesome.
So whenever he felt he couldn't write, he would change his hat. Can you kind of imagine him doing this?
Well, I mean, the Cat in the Hat, maybe that's why his hat was so big.
It could
because
be.
Because of all the writer's block hat that
it might have been. But I thought that one was completely delightful.
That's really cute. I found Ernest Hemingway liked to write standing up, balancing his typewriter on a high chest. So I guess at that time
he had the original standing desk.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I kind of like to do that as well. So
a man ahead of his time.
I know. It says he believed it helped him stay focused and alert. So
I wonder if it's because he was also drinking when he was writing,
and he was afraid
that would help. Interesting. Okay, Joaquin Miller had sprinklers installed over his house, and he would turn them on before he began to write because he claimed he couldn't compose his poetry without the sound of rain hitting his roof.
That's going to be easily solved by going on YouTube now.
I know, right? We have sound machines for that. You can listen to Fantasy Tavern Ambiance.
Oh my gosh, that seems like extremely extraneous to put sprinklers all over your house.
A little extra.
Jeez, that's really cute. I found Agatha Christie reportedly liked to wash her dishes before beginning to write. Now, this makes sense to me because that way you don't have anything kind of blocking the path. Because, I love being distracted by laundry that is waiting for me instead of writing, right?
I hate laundry.
So this way I think, it just kind of cleared her mind.
Although I do find repetitive motion chores help my creative brain turn on.
Okay, yeah.
So I can see how that could be almost a nice little gateway into getting ready to dive back into your story again.
Yeah.
Here's the most unique one I found. That's just so out there. But Friedrich Schiller claimed he was unable to write without being able to smell rotten apples. And so he would put apples in his desk drawer and leave them there to rot.
No.
And when he needed special inspiration, he would open the drawer and take a whiff.
I need to.
I'm like, whatever happened to scented candles? Like,
I don't even know what
rotten,
to say about this one.
Rotten apples. And they do have a very, very distinct smell.
I mean, I don't know. So if I left an apple around and I could just say, no, don't worry, it's just That's smelling apple.
My inspiration apple, as it were. My junior high math teacher, who was a delightful lady that I loved to death, she actually hung an apple from the ceiling at the beginning of the year, and it was a fresh, bright, shiny red, perfect apple. And below it, it said, "Is this you?" And then she left it the entire year as it started to rot and shrivel.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, what point are we making here? I'm confused. And my literal brain was like, are you saying we too shall die? Because that feels
rotten.
like that's where we were going with that message. And I'm like, we're in junior high, lady. Calm down.
Yeah, you guys were all so happy
We
at the
were
beginning
all
of junior
rotten
high,
apples.
and now you see what you've done to me. This is what you've done to me.
Clearly. Math turns you into a rotten apple.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
All right. So I'm curious, Candy.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of superstitions do you have?
Not really any. I have what I call just logic and organization. I don't know if they're really superstitions, but okay, I have learned my lesson. Have you ever lost chapters? Like, rewriting chapters is the worst. It's so painful to actually have to go back into your creativity and try to recreate the magic that came out in those chapters. So I've lost chapters before, and I will not write anything without having it backed up to a cloud. So I always have everything go up to my Dropbox, everything. So yeah, and that's, I don't know specifically if that's superstitious that I'm going to lose chapters, but heavens, I do not want to rewrite any chapters ever again. So I do have that. And then I learned my lesson, just like when you have a baby or you're pregnant and people are like, so what names are you thinking of? And I'm like, oh yeah, I really like this name. And then they use that name that you had chosen for your baby. And then you're like, well, now I'm out of a name because I can't name my kid that, right? I have the same kind of luck, I think, with naming characters. And I don't think that it's intentionally done if people take the names. I think it's just might be something when you're discussing ideas with other writers or authors, and you might have mentioned this or that, and then all of a sudden it just kind of seeps into their writing as well. I don't know. And they're just like, yeah, this is a really great name. And it's okay if people use that name. There's lots of writing out there in the world, and I know, don't feel bad, my special friend, about using the name that I had chosen because I had actually changed my character's name. So I know that you're listening to this, and I just want to say, don't worry about it. It's okay.
So I do have some similar ones to that. I can't name, like I said before, I can't name characters after people I know at all. Like, I can't even do names that are close to people I know. Good thing I work in fantasy, because then I can be a lot more creative with the naming and not feel stuck.
I usually used names that I wanted to use as baby names or that I thought were impossible to use as baby names because, my partner will just, was very, very specific about what I can name my babies. I don't know.
Yeah, all my kids have biblical names, and it works. It's fine.
A lot of good that did you. Okay.
One of the other ones is I can't, like, if I talk about a story too much before I finished it, then the more I talk about it, the harder it is to finish it.
Oh, I never thought about that.
And I don't know if that would be considered a superstition, but the more I see that pattern repeat itself, the more I'm like, ooh, I don't want to share about this yet because it's not formed enough to share. And if I share it, it's going to wreck the process for me.
Okay. That makes sense. I like that. maybe I just won't ever tell you my stories ever again.
No.
I know. I'm never going to share with you ever because I'll never finish it. Actually, let's be honest. I've talked about brown eyes for who knows how long, and it's not getting anywhere.
I wasn't going to say anything. I'm sworn to secrecy on that.
Oh, well, I talked about it too much. How about that? How do you think a superstition might help or hinder a writer?
So I think if we allow ourselves to get into these ruts of, oh my gosh, I did this one thing wrong, therefore my project is cursed, or my writing session is cursed. I think if we're carrying these kind of worries, they're not helpful. So like, if you're going to go to your writing session or your creative session or whatever you're about to do, and a black cat, it's your cat.
I do have a black cat.
Crosses your path, and then all of a sudden it's a really bad writing session, and then you're like, oh no. The next time I go, like, if you start developing these weird fears around your creative process, it's only going to hinder you. So if you're going to find weird superstitions, at least make them positive. Because then you can kind of use that to cue your brain into I'm entering a creative space and I'm ready to work. So like, maybe your superstition is if you light a candle, then you will have better ideas. Like, I don't know. I think you can make superstitions work for you. And I think you also can create some that could actually be harmful.
Yeah. Okay.
So summing up.
I'm stuck. I'm like, how am I supposed to say that?
I don't know. Do you think superstitions could help you as a writer? Do you think having these beliefs, strongly ingrained beliefs about things being either lucky or unlucky, could be helpful? Or is that something that's like, no, I've been doing this too long?
No, I don't prescribe to any of that. Like, I just don't like, it feels like I'm blaming something other than me. And that's not true.
And I find younger writers tend to do this more than professional. Those who consider themselves as professional, like, where I do hear a lot of excuses when it comes to them working on finishing their first book, where it might be this ingrained fear of something, and finishing it is scary.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I think overcoming those fears is something that everyone does need to face, because eventually you too will have to finish something, and you have to choose if it's going to be sooner or later.
Good job, Professor Jody.
Why, thank you. I put my thinking hat on.
Yeah, no, that's really good thinking. That's a really good advice. And I think that you're absolutely, totally true. That's totally true. So, okay. So, I mean, okay, my final thought here. I don't think you can get superstitious until you have done something, until something has happened, right? So you don't know if something actually is working until it works, right?
Which means try everything.
Yeah.
There's no reason to be afraid of it.
Yeah, try it. And if it works, try it again. And if it keeps working, then keep doing it. In my experience, it's about being, like I said, organized and logical. Just do smart things to try to evade any bad luck. But maybe I'm just bad luck and I don't know it. Or maybe I'm actually like a very, very
some
lucky
successes
person.
here. So I'm not going to subscribe.
I'm a very lucky person. I won't lie. I'm super lucky.
All right. So. Tell our dear listeners what we're going to talk about next week.
Okay. So we're going to all gather around the campfire and we're going to tell spooky stories, everyone. And we're going to talk about some kind of where some of these legends come from, and just talking about scary stuff like that.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Yeah. And that's, that'll be next week. So yeah, don't forget, everyone, we've got a Patreon, and we would love you guys to join it and help support us and let us keep doing all these awesome episodes. And yeah, we can't wait to hear what else we can do, I guess.
It's been a delight. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Candy, for sharing your thoughts on superstitions.
You bet.
And until next week.
All right. Thank you for listening to the Squirrel Podcast for the Distracted Writer with Candace J. Thomas and Jody L. Milner. This episode was recorded at the Farmhouse Recording Studio. Please like and subscribe to our podcast for updates and new episodes, and find more information at our website, squirrelpodcast.com. Stay distracted, everyone.
And we're delicious to dragons.
Add that, yeah.